Hello, everyone. This is Sarah with the Craft Yarn Council, and today I'm going to be going live with Toni from TL Yarn Crafts, and we're going to be talking about the addition of Tunisian Crochet abbreviations in the newly revised standard and guidelines that CYC puts out. So I'm going to wait for Toni to join the broadcast, and then I'm going to add her. So you're going to see both of us. It's going to be really cool. We're going to be talking together. And yeah, if you're just now joining, I'm going to be talking about the addition of Tunisian Crochet crafts. So I'm going to ask her some questions about her kind of experience with Tunisian Crochet, as well as, you know, her thoughts. Hi, Toni. How are you?
Hello, Miss Sarah. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, we're so excited that you're joining us today. And I think about a month ago, actually, we talked about loom knitting abbreviations and standards and things like that with Kristen from Good Knit Kisses. So if you're just now joining everyone today, we're here with Toni from TL Yarn Crafts. And we are talking about the addition of Tunisian Crochet abbreviations to the new Craft Yarn Council standards and guidelines. So hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're so excited. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump in. I have some questions for Toni. If you're watching, if you have questions, I will see them on my screen. And, you know, in between what we're saying, I'll ask some of your questions, and either I'll answer them or Toni will answer them, because we want to answer you guys' questions and see, you know, if we can help y'all out. So I'm just going to get started with my first question, Toni. So when did you first learn Tunisian crochet?
So I first picked up a Tunisian crochet hook. Now, I'm sure like everyone else, I had like bought one at a garage sale, this long crochet hook. I had no idea what it was for, but it had been in my stash for ages. But I would probably say like early last year, maybe like January, February, I fell in love with the, I think it was called like the Tunisian sunset pattern. It was this big, beautiful blanket from, God, what is her name? Michelle Robinson? I think from Poppy and Bliss. So Michelle has just gorgeous patterns in general. I just love the way that she uses color. I've been a huge fan of her for a really, really long time. And then she came out with this gorgeous blanket pattern, and I am a sucker for blankets. And I was looking at it, and what first caught my eye was like the texture of it, because Tunisian crochet creates a texture and it moves color around differently than I think any other yarn craft can do as easily as Tunisian does. So I was like, I just have to make this. I have to make it. Bought the pattern, and it was through that pattern and, of course, through YouTube, like everybody else, that I really learned how to Tunisian crochet. And I was surprised with just how easy it was to pick up. It's not a hard craft. I think, especially if you've got any kind of crochet background, as long as you're comfortable holding yarn, you can figure out Tunisian crochet. It's way easier than it looks. I love it.
Yeah. Honestly, I agree. I first started picking up Tunisian crochet last fall, and I love that it's kind of like a combination between knitting and crochet. And yeah, it was so easy. I was like, oh, it's probably gonna be hard. It sounds like it would be hard Tunisian crochet. It's like,
I know, right? It sounds like really, like, really intimidating.
And it just looks really interesting.
It does.
Stitches,
Well, I think as designers and as just makers in general, we're so attracted to like the visual interest of the fabric that we create, and I was first like I said attracted to, like, it just makes a whole different fabric. It's a whole different stitch that you can't really create with knitting or with traditional crochet. But it just ends up being like, you know, another kind of trick in your tool belt, to just something else that you can do, but it's not so far off the map that you're really learning like a whole new craft.
Yeah, exactly. Well, my next question you actually answered. I was going to ask you what drew you to Tunisian crochet, but you're talking about that did you say sunrise blanket that you saw?
So the Tunisian sunset blanket pattern was really what kind of drew me to it at first. But I think what really helped Tunisian stick for me is just the different types of fabric that you can make. Just like even manipulating the combination of stitches, or like adding color in with striping, or even just changing like the size of a piece, because like a really small swatch of Tunisian looks completely different, I think, than like a blanket size.
Sorry, y'all.
Got a nice view outside. Looks like you guys are having a beautiful day. So I think what made it stick for me is, you know, I love crochet as it is. I really respect the craft and what we can create with our hands. So in trying Tunisian and trying something a little bit different, it just made me fall more in love with the yarn, with the tools, because I am a freak for tools. So I was like, oh, now I can go buy Tunisian crochet hooks. This is perfect. But yeah, it's just, it'll never go away.
Speaking of those hooks, if you're just now starting to watch, I'm with Toni from TL Yarn Crafts, and we're talking about Tunisian crochet. If you see the Craft Yarn Council's most recent post, we are giving away a set of Clover Tunisian crochet hooks. So be on the lookout for that. I believe we are picking one of the viewers who watched this live interview. So Clover's Tunisian crochet hooks are amazing, and you'll get like a whole set, so lots of different sizes. They're amazing. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. One of y'all will win that set. But
that's
anyway,
like those are like the only crochet hooks I don't have my hands on yet. I played around with them, I think at TNNA last year, but I haven't actually bought any yet. So I'm really excited to try those too one day.
They're really cool. I haven't used them in a while, but they're really fun. I like them.
That's exciting. Well, I'm excited for whoever's gonna win those.
I mean, it's a great prize. They're fun. I like them. So my next question for you, Toni, is how is Tunisian crochet different than regular crocheting?
Sure. So for anyone who hasn't tried Tunisian crochet before, the biggest difference you're going to find right off the bat is, of course, the tool that you use. So a Tunisian crochet hook looks like a knitting needle with a crochet hook on the end. So it's got kind of the stopper on one end, the long kind of centerpiece of the needle, and then the crochet hook. So the whole point of that, of course, is to pick up stitches on what's called your forward pass, and then drop stitches off for your return pass. So all of that is just a bunch of jargon to basically say you do some stitches and then you drop them back off. And that's kind of what I think can make that attractive to both knitters and crocheters, because for a crocheter, you are familiar, of course, with the hook part of it. You're familiar with picking up stitches. And for knitters, you're comfortable with having stitches on your needles already. That's something that you've already seen before. And I think that's what makes Tunisian so approachable and so interesting, that it's like that nice hybrid between the two. But again, even though it's kind of a hybrid of those two crafts, it is its own beast. It's its own thing. And, you know, picking up and manipulating those stitches creates something completely different than you could with knitting or crochet, which is best. Yeah,
it's so interesting. Like, I didn't really know what to expect when I first learned, and I didn't even know, like, I just started learning knit and crochet like all within the last year. So I heard of Tunisian crochet for a while, and then I like was seeing it online just because, you know, I work with Craft Yarn Council, and I was like, oh, what is this? Like, I have to learn this. And it's so you're right. It's that cool combination of both knit and crochet, but it's also like its own thing. It's just completely different. So yeah. I have a question about, you know, your own experiences with Tunisian crochet. So I'm curious, what do you like and enjoy about Tunisian crochet? And if there is anything, what do you maybe dislike about it?
Well, as a crocheter, I love how kind of meditative Tunisian crochet can be, because if you're working like a traditional like Tunisian simple stitch, you're just picking up stitches over and over, and it's kind of like this repetitive, really relaxing motion like crochet can be. But with Tunisian, I feel like it's even more relaxing, because even with basic crochet stitches, you're still kind of manipulating and moving around a lot. With Tunisian, it's really like simple, small movements. And I love that. And I've made several projects that are just straight Tunisian simple stitch, super chill, and I love them. I also love about Tunisian just the way that you can move around color. I think we're in a really great era of crochet and of yarn arts in general, where we're being a little bit more experimental with color and how it moves around in our projects. And I think Tunisian carries color in a really meaningful way. And it really just lets yarn sing. Like, even the simplest project in Tunisian, I think, looks really, really beautiful when you pick the right yarn. Now, as far as things I don't love about Tunisian, because there are a couple. So as a crocheter, I am very used to the fronts and backs of my projects looking pretty similar. And while I love that you don't have to turn your project in Tunisian, that is definitely a big plus. The issue with that, and I think probably a lot of knitters will be able to sympathize with this, is the front and back of your project look completely different.
Yeah.
Not that I don't love the back, but it doesn't create a pattern that I'm super attracted to. And I'm not used to that in crochet. So that is definitely one of my challenges. And then, of course, for anyone who's ever tried it, you have the dreaded curl, Tunisian curl.
Yes. My gosh.
It curls up, and especially as crocheters, I am just not used to that. So you have to make some adjustments with the hook that you're using, the yarn that you're using, the stitches that you use, and kind of that combination of those three things to try to avoid the curl, or you just block it at the end, and who loves blocking anyway? So,
yeah.
So it's got its pros and cons, just like any craft. I think knitters will probably be a lot more understanding of those kinds of challenges when it comes to Tunisian, because, you know, with knit fabric, depending on the stitch, the front and back look different. And I feel like with knitting, you know, especially the traditional stitches, you pretty much have to deal with the fact that it curls. I just feel like as crocheters, we've been a little spoiled, and we don't have to deal with those things.
Yeah, I've been knitting a little more lately. I prefer crochet, but I've been knitting, and it's just every single thing that I knit is like curling.
Yeah.
I'm so not used to this, because all my crochet projects are just like perfect. But yeah, I forgot about the curling with Tunisian crochet. That is very true. Do you have, I'm just curious, do you have any tips?
Sure.
Maybe, I mean, you mentioned, you know, if you find that your Tunisian crochet project is curling, you can block it afterwards. But do you have any tips to maybe like fight the curl as you're making something with Tunisian crochet?
Oh yeah, that was one of the challenges that I had early on, and I was like about to scrap Tunisian crochet altogether.
Yeah.
But I did a little bit more research. There's a couple of things that I suggest. First off, I always suggest going up a hook size. Like with Tunisian crochet, you typically want to go up 1.5 to 2 full millimeter sizes on your hook, compared to what it suggests on the ball band for the yarn. And that's because Tunisian just makes such small stitches, and it can really condense the yarn. And if your hook is too small, it is going to curl like crazy, and it's going to drive you nuts. So definitely go up on your hook size. That's one thing that's where I'd start. After that, you know, short of blocking, I would suggest maybe changing your stitch, because the whole reason that Tunisian crochet curls is because since you're only working on one side of the fabric, you're pulling all your stitches forward. So it's pulling the whole bottom of your work up, and that's why it's curling. So if you adjust and add some stitches that kind of pull the project to the back of the work, adding some Tunisian purl stitches, then your project will relax a little bit more. And so for example, if you do like a stitch that's Tunisian simple, Tunisian purl, and kind of alternating the two, you're pretty much going to have a flat piece of fabric, because those stitches pull in opposite directions, and it's really, really pretty. It's called a honeycomb stitch, and it's just gorgeous. So yeah, the honeycomb stitch is so pretty. It's just alternating Tunisian simple and Tunisian purl stitches, and then you don't have to worry about blocking so much because your fabric's pretty flat.
Yeah. Well, I just want to let anyone who's maybe just joined, I'm talking here with Toni from TL Yarn Crafts, and we are talking about the new Tunisian crochet abbreviations in the Craft Yarn Council standards and guidelines. And I just want to remind everyone, if you do have questions, feel free to ask them. And we'll just answer them in between the questions I'm already asking Toni, because we would love to hear from you guys and answer the questions that you have. So Toni, my next question is, I'm just curious, we're curious here at Craft Yarn Council, what does your pattern writing process look like?
That's exciting.
You know, answer it however you want. That's kind of, you know, we're curious.
Well, wow, that's a great question. Okay, because I was actually just kind of researching my process for a blog post, so this is a great time to ask that. I would say my process, like throughout my life, and even when I'm in the middle of another design, if I have an idea, I have a notebook where I write every single thing down. If I lost that notebook, my design career would be over. Like, just done. So I write everything, every single thing down. Even if I don't have a plan to make it, I don't have the yarn to make it. If an idea comes in my head, I have to write it down, because literally 2 minutes later, I'll be like, what was I even thinking about?
Yeah.
So I have that kind of list of, possible to makes or whatever. And then ultimately a design will start to formulate once I have yarn in my hands. So I like to, even if I'm not planning to buy anything, browse like my local yarn store, or I might go to Joann's or Michael's or Hobby Lobby and see what kind of yarns are available. What is maybe something I haven't worked with before, or something, sometimes I'll even specifically seek out yarns that are really accessible to everyone, because I'm trying to make something that, anybody feels like they can make. So it really just depends on kind of the motivation for that project. And then from there, if I find some yarn that I totally fall in love with, I'll take it home and I'll get started. And that's why I have like 20 whips going at a time.
Yeah.
Because like once I get that inspiration, like it's an excitement that really just starts welling up when I have like the perfect idea and the perfect yarn. And I'm like, when these powers combine, it becomes this beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So I just kind of, and gratefully, I've had the opportunity to be able to design full time. So I have the grace and the opportunity to let those ideas flow at whatever time they want to. And that's not to say that they're all winners. Some of them aren't. Sometimes I'll finish something and I'll be like, that's not what I was going for. And I'll just kind of let it marinate in the closet, and then look at it a couple months from now and see if there's something I want to rework about it, or maybe if I change the colors, I'll be more interested in it or something like that. So I really just let the yarn and the ideas kind of run the show, and I'm just the hands. That's what I do. Yeah.
That's really cool. Well, speaking of yarn, Tiny Tots Crochet Nation asked, what type of yarn is best for Tunisian crochet?
The nice thing about Tunisian is every yarn is great for it. I think the combination of stitches and yarn in the project is really what makes the difference, just like with any other yarn craft. So when I first did Tunisian crochet, I practiced on a worsted weight yarn, and I think I used like either a 7 or 8 millimeter Tunisian crochet hook, because that was like a comfortable place for me.
Yeah.
But since then, I've worked with sport weights. I've worked with extra bulky. I did a blanket that I gave as a gift this past Christmas, and an extra bulky. I think I used like a 15 millimeter Tunisian crochet hook. Yeah, so you can really kind of play around with it just like you would yarn in any other craft. I always have been an advocate for making swatches. So try it out with. You got to make a swatch so you don't waste all that beautiful yarn. But, try a swatch with the yarn that you want and a crochet hook. See if you need to adjust your gauge or adjust your hook, and then go for it. Don't overthink it. Just make it. Go for it.
Well, we have another question. Twisted Strings Crochet asked, for a new designer learning to create different sizes, is there references I could research or any direction that you could provide?
Interesting that you asked that here, because I use the Craft Yarn Council's list of references constantly. So I don't remember exactly what it's called, but you guys have like a PDF book with like all of those amazing references that I've downloaded to my phone and every device I have. So that has like different sizings. It has all of the abbreviations. It's got like
the guidelines.
Yes, the guidelines are number one tool. And as makers, even just something like that being available just for free that we can reference on a regular basis, I think is amazing, and so grateful to the council for that. Aside from that, I would just say practice, practice, practice. You have to definitely understand the way that the fabric moves, the way that it stretches, wide ways and long ways, because you might have the perfect gauge for a certain dimension, and then when you put it on, it's like 4 inches longer. And as a designer, that's the kind of stuff that you run into. So you have to definitely practice with different fibers, practice with different, gauges, and after a while, it'll become second nature. But you got to practice.
Practice, with everything, any skill, yarn craft or whatever it is, practice. Okay, so now Stitch and Hound asked, I recently picked up Tunisian and I noticed it is hard to find Tunisian hooks. Where are a few places to find quality hooks?
Sure. So I have found all of my Tunisian hooks online. I too have found it very difficult to find the right size hooks in stores. So like I'll go to my local craft store and they might have 1 or 2 sizes, but considering that I have to go up so much higher in the hook size for yarn, you know, with the sizes that they have available, I could maybe use like a fingering or a sport weight. You know, I'm not going to get up to the actual yarns that I want to use. So for anyone that knows me at all, my go-to absolute favorite hook set is the Denise Interchangeables crochet hook set I bought on Amazon. I think when I first started doing Tunisian crochet, but since then I've also found a set from Knit Picks. I bet the clovers are amazing because I love bamboo hooks, and I bet those are awesome. So for anyone who is trying Tunisian crochet, I always encourage you to get a set because it's a lot easier to buy a set than to get the individual hooks, because eventually you're going to want to try a different size hook and then you have to wait for it to be shipped. Don't even do that. Just buy a whole set and try them out. Yeah.
Well, just for the sake of if anyone new has joined, as far as finding tools, you know, sometimes at craft stores you might be able to find a whole set or the individual hooks. But if you have been watching this live at any point during the video, we are going to be choosing one viewer and we're going to give them a free Clover Tunisian crochet hook set, a whole set. So like a whole range of sizes. So yeah, that's awesome. Go look at our most recent post on our CYC Instagram to get more information about that. But we're going to be giving that away. Like that's a really awesome prize. So
that's so awesome.
Who's going to win? Okay, so we've been talking about the Craft Yarn Council standards and guidelines, which is what you mentioned earlier. That's where you find things about sizing, how to find the right size hook or needle for what weight yarn you're using and things like that. So I was just curious what you thought about the Craft Yarn Council's Tunisian crochet abbreviations, and or how you feel about us like finally adding them to the standards and guidelines, because they if you're curious, Craft Yarn Council just recently revised our standards and guidelines. We added a lot of new stuff. We added Tunisian crochet abbreviations, information and abbreviations about loom knitting, as well as other things. So if you're curious about that, you can go to yarnstandards.com. If you look on the right side, there's links to all the different things in the yarn standards. But anyway, I was just curious how you felt about that and how, you know, Tunisian crochet is finally in standards and guidelines. So yeah,
I think it's a really big statement that the Craft Yarn Council is making to like recognize that, you know, people are not only designing with Tunisian crochet, but also completing Tunisian crochet patterns that's on par with, you know, crochet and knitting. And even for folks who haven't tried it yet, I think it's kind of on a lot of people's kind of to-do lists as far as learning new crafts. So having that as a resource so people can easily and more efficiently read patterns and write patterns, I think is super duper important. And I think also just as a designer, a resource where I can, you know, write a universal language where all of the makers who try my patterns will be able to read what I'm saying, or even just to have a place where I can direct them if they're trying to kind of get that lingo down. Because even for, I find that a lot of people, you know, maybe know how to crochet but don't know how to read a pattern. So having that language somewhere where they can kind of decipher the lingo, I think is super duper important. And I think it's another step in kind of validating the craft. And I was really surprised and grateful to find it. And I think too, it makes my job a lot easier because I've now been able to go back to some of my older patterns and be like, that's not how we should abbreviate this. This doesn't make any sense. It was awesome to find. And I think just kind of having that kind of regulated language that we can all use and reference is it's a huge step in Tunisian crochet design.
Yeah. Well, you kind of answered my next question. I was going to ask, you know, have you used any of the Tunisian crochet abbreviations from Craft Yarn Council? But it sounds like you have. So I'm curious, are there any abbreviations that you use that aren't listed in our abbreviations?
I actually took a look at the abbreviations before we came on today to check, and no, I think you guys really hit the nail on the head. Everything that I've used, especially like what I always was challenged with was how to write like forward pass and return pass. Because I used to just spell the whole thing out because I didn't know what would make sense to people. But even just the abbreviations for those has been so very helpful. And also like depending on who you learn Tunisian crochet from, they might call the forward pass and return pass different things. So
Yeah.
now that we have kind of that set language, we can all speak it the same way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Helps.
Yep. Yeah. I work for Craft Yarn Council, and I even refer to the standards and guidelines and things in there like every single day, pretty much, just because it's such a great resource and it's all in one place. So yeah. Well, one of my last questions that I have for you today, Toni, is there something, or what is something that you wish people knew about Tunisian crochet that maybe isn't commonly known, or I don't know, just is there anything that you wish people knew about it?
I just wish they knew how easy it was. It's
Yeah.
like really, really easy. I think, and like we were saying earlier, just the name Tunisian crochet can feel a little bit intimidating, and maybe it feels a bit like exclusive, like you have to be on a certain level of crocheter to be able to do it. But it incorporates so many like techniques within crochet that we already know. And I think too, there's a lot of resources between videos and just like online blog posts and things that teach it in a really approachable way. So I think if anything, for anyone who's been interested in trying Tunisian crochet, even just like a quick swatch or to get down the lingo, I would definitely encourage people to just give it a try. And there's actually, you know, ways that you can try Tunisian crochet without even buying any new hooks. So I encourage anybody who just has like a straight hook that doesn't have like a really wide thumb rest or anything, just, you know, find a video about Tunisian crochet. I'll shamelessly plug that I have a YouTube series about learning Tunisian crochet, and just try it out. You know, do some foundation stitches, do a couple Tunisian simple stitches, do a bind off, and see how you like it. I think you just have to kind of give it a go and not really like hype it up into something that it's not. It's a really chill, very approachable craft.
It really is, yeah. So let's see. String Teary asked, is there a reference in the guidelines for yarn weight conversion for yarns all around the world? She said yarn weight nomenclature is different for yarn we get here in India. So that would be a me question. Do you have information about that as far as converting from like American standards to, I believe it's UK and Canada, but right now we don't have converting for yarns all over the world, and I can't say for sure if that's something that we're working on like right now, but I will definitely take note of that, and maybe at some point in the future when we do more revisions to standards and guidelines, we can look at that. And if I am speaking wrongly, we do have that, we will get back with you and see if we can get you that information. But as far as I know, we don't have that specifically for India right now. But thanks for your question, and we'll see if we can do that at some point in the future. I just want to see if we have any other questions. We have a lot of cool comments. All right, let's see. There's been a lot of comments. Okay, cool. So I have one more question for you, Toni, and this isn't really related to Tunisian crochet, but we're just curious. Is there anything that you're working on that you can share with us? Or just in general, is there anything that you want to add that maybe I didn't ask you, or that you wanted to talk about in today's video?
Sure. Yeah. I'll just kind of quickly reiterate that I do have a YouTube channel, and Tunisian crochet was actually the catalyst for starting my YouTube channel. I feel like since there weren't a lot of kind of cohesive understanding and conversation around Tunisian crochet, I kind of took how I learned it, put it on video, and I was like, if anybody else, if this makes sense to anyone, you're welcome to use these videos. And there's still some of like my most streamed videos, so I'm really, really glad that people are kind of using that information. So you can find all those videos on youtube.com/tlyarncrafts, and there's like a whole kind of playlist of Tunisian crochet tips and tricks and basics, and even a free pattern, my Tunisian ear warmer pattern, which is super duper fun and really, really easy, and you don't even need any special tools for it. I did also pull a couple samples of Tunisian crochet projects that I've designed to share with you guys. So this was my very first design project. It was inspired by Poppy and Bliss's Tunisian Sunset project. This one is called the Ombre Dream Pillow. So it uses 6 different colors that are kind of alternated throughout rows on this pillow. It's all one piece, so there's very minimal seaming, and just imagine like all the different kind of feels that you can create with all the different colors. So I think that'll be fun. Awesome. So that's one of them. And then the other one that I just finished kind of recently released is this one. So this is the Sweet Gingham Baby Blanket that I designed in collaboration with Joanne Stores. So it uses like 3 colors of just simple worsted weight yarn. And this is actually a free pattern on my blog, tlycblog.com. So you can find free patterns on my blog and paid copies of all of those patterns on my website, tlyarncrafts.com. So yeah, I'm a Tunisian fan. I'm definitely a fan. Uh-oh, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. I lost the audio. Oh no. Can you hear me? Oh no. Can anyone hear any of us? Oh no. Gotta love technology. I can't hear you. Hello? No? Sorry. Oh yeah, there you are.
Yeah. Those were really pretty, and I kind of want to go. Oh, can you hear me now?
A little bit. But like your audio's not matched up with your video.
Can you hear me?
Hello.
Connectivity problems. Can you hear me? So, here.
Oh.
Okay, it's okay. Well,
I'm glad I'm not the only one who has these challenges on my lives.
Done. Bye. Oh, wait. Guys, you can hear me now. Well, anyway, I did not have
we got
any more questions.
I can hear you.
You can hear me? Oh, yay. Okay.
Yeah,
It's the past couple minutes I'm having some connection problems, but what I was trying to say earlier when y'all couldn't hear me, I actually don't have any more questions for you, Toni. So, do you have anything else you want to add?
I guess the only other things that I'll add is I also go live on my channel at TL Yarn Crafts on Instagram, usually on Tuesdays, but since I was going to be talking a bunch today, I am saving it for tomorrow. So I'm going live tomorrow at 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. Eastern time to talk about Instagram, some tips and tricks to share. And I go live there every week just to kind of talk about yarn that I bought or projects that I'm working on, and I also share some other crafty business tips and tricks. So I definitely encourage you guys to check me out there. Yeah, check out my YouTube. I'm revamping my Pinterest, and I'm really, really proud about it. So you can go follow me on Pinterest as well. And I'm just so grateful to have spent this time with you, Sarah, and with the council. And thank you guys for reaching out to kind of chat today. This has been super fun. Did we lose her again?
Like that. So, oh, I'm gone again. Well, we're done.
We got you
so
back. I can hear you.
Okay. Haha. Well, this video will be on YouTube at some point in the future with links to Toni's social media profile. So, but that's pretty much it. So thank you again for talking with me today, Toni. And thanks everyone for watching and asking questions. We'll see you guys later.
Thanks,
Bye.
Sarah. Bye-bye.
Bye.